In this video, we want to talk briefly about what leadership competencies are and how they can help you. Hi, I'm Ron with LeadSkill, and we help leaders grow their self-awareness and improve their effectiveness with people. So, what are competencies? We are describing not just knowledge, not just the ability to do things that are pretty easily trainable. We're talking about more subtle things, or what have been called soft skills. We're talking about things like skill, attitude, motivation, and ability in some specific areas, like thinking flexibly, being able to manage oneself, and being skillful in managing other people. So if you want to use the technical terms, cognitive abilities, intrapersonal, within myself, and interpersonal, skill in working with other people. And those three broad categories, I think, are pretty useful, and we can actually define some core or some key competencies that apply to leaders in many different organizations and many different cultures. One of the things that we just need to face straight on from the beginning are two key truths that we just can't get around. First of all, there is widespread agreement that competencies or soft skills are the key difference maker in leaders succeeding and doing well and being a good fit at all levels of organizations, from frontline leaders to middle level to the top leadership of any company or organization. So if you talk to the experts and people in the field and practitioners on the front line, leaders in organizations, they will say what we need are competent, skillful leaders, people who have competency. And those competencies aren't necessarily technical level skills that we would see from individual contributors. They are the soft skills about managing people, managing themselves, being able to think more flexibly and entertain ambiguity and all sorts of thinking skills. And so there's agreement on that level. That's the first truth. And here's the other side of it. Across the industry, and I'm not talking about just the US, but around the world, there is no agreement about how to define competencies, what they are specifically, and even what we call them, whether it's competencies, soft skills, essential skills, personal skills, 21st century skills. There's all sorts of different ways that these are termed or described, and the set of what goes into the list of critical competencies and what are the extras, the nice to have that go on the side. No one agrees on this. So there's several different proprietary systems, and people have come up with different things. So maybe you're wondering at this point, oh Ron, you've already confused me, or this sounds difficult. Why bother with competencies then? Which takes us back to the first truth, that there is widespread agreement. Competencies are important, and they are a differentiator between effective leaders and those who are not effective, or who are just average, and those who don't get things done, those who fail in any given assignment. And so it's worth it for us to put some thought into this, to try to measure what we can, and then to move toward getting greater agreement about what we're talking about and what should belong on that list. So let me just back us up a little bit. This is not a new subject. For several decades now, in industry, we've been studying and trying to describe what these soft skills are. In fact, I was quite surprised. I thought this was a pretty recent or modern phenomenon. And one of the things that I discovered was that even more than 100 years ago, in 1918, there was a textbook that came out in the United States that was talking about just these things, that in our leaders, in our managers, we actually need more than just people competent in doing specific jobs, or what we would call technical skills, or people call them hard skills. People better than just, accountants who can, crunch the numbers and understand the facts, or better than engineers who can measure well, design things, implement systems, build stuff. We need people in the leadership level who go beyond that, who have skill in working with people, who are able to manage themselves at a heightened level. People who can think broadly, flexibly, adaptably, and not just according to how they were educated. People who can improvise good solutions in the moment. And so it's not a brand new subject. It's actually been around for decades. And you would think that we'd be further down the road in defining, describing, and measuring these things that I'm calling competencies. But we're not. Even though there's not universal agreement on terms and definitions, it doesn't mean that we're completely in the dark. So when we're talking about competencies, as I was referring to earlier, we are describing not just knowledge, we're talking about things like skill, attitude, motivation, and ability in some specific areas, like thinking flexibly, being able to manage oneself, and being skillful in managing other people. And those three broad categories I think are pretty useful, and we can actually define some core or some key competencies that apply to leaders in many different organizations in many different cultures.